morning, world, and thanks for joining me for another Boots on the Ground life. I hope you guys are off to a good start today. It is just been warm this whole week. It does not feel like December. It's making it kind of hard to enjoy Advent and Christmas and stuff because it's so warm outside. I kind of don't want to complain about it, but on the other hand, I like feeling the season, and it doesn't feel like the season right now. So I don't want to complain. I want to be grateful for all the good gifts that God gives us. And, bright side is we don't have to pay for heating right now or really cooling. It's kind of that in between, although we did have to turn the air on a little bit again because it just got too warm inside. So, December and air conditioning on aren't really the things that make me feel festive. But that's always how it was when I would go out and visit my parents. They live in Arizona. And I remember before I got married, or maybe just after that too, we'd go out there every once in a while during the Christmas season. It just doesn't feel like Christmas when you're walking around in shorts and t-shirts. So I like a place that has 4 seasons. I like being able to have spring and summer and fall and winter. So anyway, hopefully you're feeling festive wherever you are, no matter what the weather. We're getting a little bit of a bug around here again. All the sickness going around everywhere. It's kind of hard to dodge it between airplanes and kiddos that work at different places and just all the stores that you go in and out of. Makes it hard to stay healthy. So I was going to talk about that a little bit today because it's one of the things that I did not do well maybe at the beginning of my mothering, and it's still something that I struggle with. I think it's more of an issue for women in general. We push off things. We look at all the stuff that needs to be done and who needs to be taken care of, and we push ourselves to the bottom of the pile a lot. So that's part of the conversation. And then just being an advocate for your family. I think it's a huge lesson that we all have to learn. If you have been through anything where you've had any kind of family member hospitalized or just needing some medical answers and you're not getting them, the only way that those come is by pounding on the doors, right? And being steadfast in your tenacity to get answers. So I know both my parents have gone through lots of different health things. My in-laws have too, and one of the things we found out quickly with that was that you need to have somebody at the hospital with you pretty much all the time, because if you don't, it's not a diss on the people working there. I think they are so overworked, and now it's even more so. We have such a shortage of healthcare workers because of all the various things that have happened over the last couple of years. And so it's even more so now. You need to have somebody there that can be your go-between. It's hard to, when you're stuck in a hospital bed, you can't really say, hey, I need this or I need that. You can push the call button, but it doesn't always get answered right away. So I just found that out again with the family member I was out with. You need to just have somebody there all the time. So it was making me reminisce and think about all the instances where that's been true, and then how I've grown both as being just a wiser woman and a wiser mom. I don't take things like I did before. So let's go back. I was, raised as a military kid, and if you have been part of the military, then you're familiar with this. But if not, part of the deal was you just show up and get whatever doctor was on that day. It wasn't a kind of doctor-patient relationship at all. So I didn't have any idea about developing that kind of relationship, and that there would be, an ongoing conversation. So each time you went in, you kind of had to give the quick spiel they would have your records, and look through that really quick while they're talking to you. But it was always kind of starting from square one again. And so I think I shared this before, but I had no idea when I started looking for doctors on my own, after I got out of the house and then started needing to find a OB/GYN and, just other things, other health people. I had no idea what to look for or what it meant to look after my health, really. And if you're sick, you go to the doctor. But then beyond that, when you start having things that aren't really, easy, like strep throat or pneumonia or, things that are serious and straightforward, I was kind of left at a loss of what to do. How do I decide this? So I developed an ulcer when I was in college or right after college, and trying to figure out what doctors to go see, who's telling me good stuff, who's not, what is a good doctor, what does that look like? I had to start developing these ideas, and it took me a long time, to sort through all of it, to try and understand what can I require of this person that's in my life to help me. Yes, I am paying them, but there is a level of care that they need to give to me too. I was a neighbor honking at me. I was kind of taken aback by that for a second until I realized whose car it was. But anyway, I didn't know how to walk that road. So I would go into a doctor and take him at face value. You're supposed to be this kind of doctor. You're supposed to help me, and you tell me this, then I guess that's what I need to do. But as I went through that experience, I realized there are some not great doctors out there. That has only been reinforced through the last many years of my life and parenthood. But I just didn't know what to look for. I had no idea of what is that benchmark for that. And so I just kept going down that road. I eventually found relief from a more natural doctor. All the conventional stuff was not working, and so I ended up finding one through a referral from another family member from states away, and was able to finally get help with that. But then we got married, and it was time to start looking for an OB/GYN for our babies. We knew we were pregnant, and so happened to find my great doctor, awesome doctor, through a referral on an airplane ride. And that was the best referral I ever got, because she was an awesome OB/GYN. She was somebody who began to help me understand what a doctor should be and could be in our life. A force for good, a force for helping us change things so we don't have the same outcome every time, but to improve our lot. And so she was a blessing, and we became friends, and I ended up working on her house, and it was a really enjoyable relationship. And then came time to find our pediatrician, and again I had no clue about I'd kind of swerved into our OB/GYN by getting the referral, and so I thought, well, it's probably the same thing with getting this doctor. And so I asked a couple of people, and they told me who they were using, and so I went in and met with them the one time. He wasn't my favorite from the beginning, but it wasn't like anything glaring that I could point to. It was just I don't know, maybe dismissive would be the word. And I think that's a huge part of what we deal with as women, as moms. We deal with a more dismissive attitude from a lot of doctors. And I am not a person that asks for help or goes to the doctor easily. I do not. Like I said, because of how I was raised, it wasn't that there was not care available, but it was just not something that you did. There weren't regular visits just because you needed your 6-month checkup or your yearly checkup or anything. It was just more of a immediacy thing, like an emergency. We're sick, we need antibiotics, we need whatever. And so there was always care there. It wasn't a lack of care. It was just a whole lack of relationship building within this framework of health care. And so I met with this pediatrician. Didn't really love him, but I didn't know what to compare him with. So I said, okay, we'll go with you. Well, I think I've shared this part too in another podcast, but just to reiterate here. So we make it through delivery, really long, kind of horrible delivery with my first kiddo. And I don't get to my room until it was like after 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 3. And so we had just gotten to sleep basically, and gotten everything settled. They have to come in and check you, and then you're trying to get diapers changed and do all that stuff. And so I think, we'd maybe been asleep for 2 hours or something. And the pediatrician walks in my hospital room and just bangs the door open. And, good morning. So I see we have another child to welcome to the world. And just going full blast. Didn't even pay attention to what time I delivered, what time I might have gotten to my room, that anybody might be asleep or anything. He just plowed in. And so that was like a proverb, a loud verse in the morning. It's like a curse. That was for sure him. So my husband was not thrilled with that. Took him out into the hall. And then just a few other things started happening with our kiddo as he grew. He started showing some issues with eating different things and trying to figure out what it was or if there was some other obstruction. And so we took him in for an appointment, and it was, we were dismissed, just kind of, yeah, it's not a big deal until he's, throwing up or whatever for 14 days straight. We don't really worry about it. Like, that's not okay. So we got on the phone. I called a couple of my other friends there and said, okay, who do you guys use for a pediatrician? Because this one has not gotten it. And I found the name of another doctor outfit. And we were able to meet with them and ended up finding an absolutely wonderful pediatrician. He was so incredible. He was actually filling in that day, but he became our primary pediatrician after that. And again, we became friends, and I worked on his house with him and his wife, and it was a great relationship. And he was our pediatrician until we left Nashville, and just, he set the bar. So between him and this OB, I had begun to kind of cobble together an idea of what good healthcare should look like. But throughout all these things, I have parents and in-laws having surgeries and all kinds of things, and I'm out there, trying to, most of the time that was emergency stuff, right? So you're in the hospital. It's not the relationship building doctors that you're with. You're just with the hospital doctors. But we just all quickly, all of us siblings and my husband and I, figured out for both sets of our parents, somebody has to be there all the time. Because if you don't have an advocate with you, you're just going to get ignored. And so we just tried to make that a priority, where possible, somebody stayed with you, maybe not through the night, because hopefully you didn't need as much done during the night. But, throughout the day, when things are supposed to be happening, it just helps a lot to have somebody there. And so we tried to do that. We tried to do that. All of my siblings and I tried to schedule our time, since none of us at the time lived there, and then eventually one of us moved there, but most of us were all long distance away. And so we scheduled overlapping time, to be able to hand the reins off from one to the other, so we could all come, for a few days to a week at a time, and be able to offer the care and, advocacy that we could while we were there. And so that worked really well. But this last time, again, in the hospital with my family member, I was just reminded of that. It had even degraded further from what it had been. And some of that might be the particular hospital that they were at. Some of it is a sign of the times. Some of it, I think, in all reality, was the age of my family member. I think as they get older, some things just aren't as priority for people that are caring. And I can't speak to their hearts, but I could speak to what I was hearing from the hospitalist and the on-call doctors, all that stuff. It just was a lot of kind of dismissal of, yeah, well, that's just what happens as you get older and blah, 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 and not really trying to get to the root of the cause or issues. And so, it just was even more necessary to have somebody there to walk the road with them. But I've shared with you on here that I've had some health things that I've been trying to figure out for years. And I have gone through doctors telling me really completely wrong information as far as what would be the best course of treatment for me. I think so much of that comes from people wanting the easy answers. You go in to most of these doctor's offices and people just are sitting there waiting for the quick fix. They want a pill to make it all better. They don't want to actually have to do any work or be accountable for anything. And I'm making big generalities here, but it was amazing. If you start pressing some of these doctors on what can I do? Like, how can I affect change? How can my family member affect change for the good without, just handing them more pills? All of a sudden they would kind of perk up and say, oh, well, yeah, you can do this and this and this over here. We've seen benefit over there if you do these things. But it's not their normal MO to give that information because most people don't want it. And so, I had gone through my own string of things like that. People telling me I had this or that and I needed to take this or that medicine. And then, if you take this or that medicine, you need to also take this or that medicine. And all of a sudden I'm looking at things going, why am I taking all of this? And so, I took matters into my own hand and started trying things out, looking, let's look at herbal stuff. Let's look at homeopathic stuff. Let's look at, just all the options out here. It's not that one is better than the other. I think we can look at all of it together and not look at each specific affliction or whatever it is that we have, too closely, too narrowly. We need to broaden it out and say, okay, what all parts of my body are influenced by this, and how can I look at the whole thing instead of, just looking at the lungs or just looking at your intestinal tract or just looking at, your eyes or whatever. We need to get back to taking responsibility for our whole body, not just the little pieces that are affecting us. And so I know, especially for us as women, and I'm speaking more to women here, it's harder for us to advocate for ourselves. Not always because we don't feel valued, but there's just so many other things pulling at our attention. If you have children, trying to get them into their regular doctor's visits and get them all taken care of with their dental appointments and their pediatric appointments, and then not to mention just the times when they get sick. Then you have to go again, and so our care can fall down to the bottom of the pile. And it's taken me a long time to realize that if I don't take care of me, if I don't try to find some space in there to take care of me, my health, my mental health, my emotional health, then I'm not going to be much good to my family. And so I still struggle with that. Is it okay for me to go take this 2 or 3 hour time to go meet with a doctor who will thoroughly talk about everything, or am I robbing my family of that time? And so, now I'm able to do that a little bit better. It also helps that my children are in a different age of life. I don't have to be so concerned about babysitters and having someone to stay with them or nursing or any of those things. And those are just all added stresses that add to the equation of trying to decide whether or not you can take the time to go sort out this stuff. And so I would just encourage you. You can't be a whole person, a whole mother or spouse if you don't take some time to care for yourself. We need to not only be advocates for our family members, which we definitely need to do. We need to demand some answers and not let the pat things just lay there and take them at face value. We need to push people to dig deeper and to actually find, root causes and ways to change either our lifestyle or how we go about doing things, foods we eat, to make the changes long lasting. But we need to do it for ourselves. We need to not just jump from this thing to that thing, trying to solve one problem after the other, but to find someone just to walk alongside you to say, okay, let's take in your whole scope of everything. Let's see what all is going on. And then we can start drawing some lines, some intersectional lines where these things cross. For me, I have a lot of issues with my skin. I end up with almost burns on it. And I know that's probably from my digestion, because your skin is your number one organ. It's the biggest organ, and it's the one that can sometimes send up the white flag quickest. And so, I've been trying a lot of things on my own. I've had some great success with things. I've been able to change the outcome of a lot of diagnoses that people said I needed to take medicine for or would just have to live with for the rest of my life. And I don't have to do that anymore. But that's because I was willing to make the hard choices and the hard decisions to change who I was and how I went about life. But still, I haven't always taken the care that I need to of me. There'll always be tomorrow. There'll always be, next week, next year. And so I found that out the hard way through things. I pushed off my dental appointments for a long time and ended up having to have some work done because I pushed it off. For whatever reason, like our dentist, he only likes to take 2 family members at a time because, if somebody doesn't show, then his whole morning could be wasted. So I always put the kids in front of me, got to make sure they get theirs done. And so I did that for too many years and then suffered the consequences of it, both financially and healthily. And so all that I thought I was saving or keeping good account of, a lot of it was for naught, because it was just wasted effort that actually ended up costing more in the end. And so, I don't know, this isn't really a more emotional or I don't know what the right word is for this podcast, but I just wanted to be encouraging to you guys. If you're a younger mom, if you're a younger woman, a younger male too, you just need, our health is so important. We need to take care of it. We need to not neglect it, thinking, it'll get better tomorrow, or I can just push it off a little while longer. I'd encourage you not to do that. Just to take it in hand, to start making the changes as soon as possible, rather than pushing it off. Don't put off for tomorrow what you can do today, right? That's part of what the Bible talks about. It's many old wise proverbs, whether it be from Aesop or other ones. There's lots of wisdom there. Yet in our foolishness and in our youth, I think we sometimes think it'll be different for me. I've got it figured out. It might not apply to those people over there, but I've got it figured out. And so I'm saying you don't. You don't have it figured out. If your health needs your attention, go ahead and give it to it. If your emotional health needs your attention, take the space and the time to care for it, because it doesn't go away on its own. it won't get better on its own. It needs actual work and care in order to thrive and grow into what it can be. So I don't know who might have needed to hear that today, but go care for yourself. Go take the time, take the resources, do whatever is necessary to get some answers for yourself so that you can be here for the long haul. So you can be there to care for those others when they need you to advocate for them. Find advocates for you. Find people that will go to bat for you and encourage you in your desire to live a more healthy life, so that you can draw on them when you're feeling guilty or not worth it. You can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I feel like I need to go to the doctor and I need to get this stuff checked out, but I'm also struggling with feeling that there's too many other things pulling at me and that it's not worth my time. And you need to have those people that can step in and say, absolutely not. You are worth it. Your time is valuably used by pursuing this health, whether it be mental, emotional, physical, all those things. So find advocates for yourself. Be an advocate for those that God has placed into your life. Don't deny that care that is there, but be wise and be judicious in how you approach them. Don't take first explanations always for gold. Test them and try them. The Bible talks about that, not with just wisdom and knowledge of other people, but I think it needs to apply to this. Not just about the things of God, but things of the world. We need to test and try what people are telling us and see, does this hold water? Does this make sense? Does this help move the ball forward? Or is it treading water? Or is it actually regressing me? So, do that as you approach new doctors, new caregivers, new times of life. Just look at them with a critical eye and test them. Try them in the fire of thought and just make sure that they are really worth their mettle, that they aren't going to crack and bend under scrutiny. So hopefully there was something in there that someone needed to hear today. It's a constant reminder that I have to say to myself. I was blessed to be able to go and meet with a group of doctors yesterday and hopefully get on the road to getting some better answers. It was just the initial part, so all the testing and all those kind of things. So hopefully we can get some answers in another few weeks and figure out how to apply that knowledge better. But it seemed like a place that wanted to listen, to take into account the whole body, not just focus on each individual little thing, but to look at me as a whole person and factor that all in. So I'm grateful for that. Took a long time to find this group of doctors, and so I'm hopeful. I'm still a little hesitant to be too hopeful, but I trust that God's providential care is over me and that I took the step, and so I will keep taking the steps as necessary. So I encourage you to do the same. Just look around and see, what is it that I need help with? How do I need care? What would make me be able to do my other jobs better as wife, mom, husband, son, daughter, all of the vocations that we have in our life, and see if you can make an effort or a stride toward improving those. So, you guys, I hope you have a good day. It is really hot and muggy right now, so I'm going to get back inside and get some cooler air, and so we can get our school day going too. But anyway, you guys, I hope you have a great day. Go get 'em.